All right, awesome, Karen. Thanks for that intro. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for Nonprofit Ad Day. I'm so excited to jump into this session. If you are looking for the LinkedIn ad session, then congratulations, you've come to the right place. If you are not looking for the LinkedIn ad session, then congratulations anyway. You've landed in an awesome room, and hopefully we can all learn a bit about LinkedIn ads and how they can help support our overall paid social efforts. So before we jump in, I am here with the Community Boost team. If you are unfamiliar with Community Boost, we do exist to empower social ventures changing the world, like Karen just mentioned, just like all of you. We have supported over 400 nonprofits directly, supported over $400 million in donation revenue. Today, we're really hoping to share some of our knowledge that we've gained through working with some of our amazing partners to really help your organization unlock the door to success on paid social. So if you were in my session earlier, my little face bubble may be familiar, but to quickly reintroduce myself, my name is Chloe O'Rourke. I'm a digital specialist on the Community Boost team. I specialize in paid social campaigns for our nonprofit partners. I have been able to work directly with many of our nonprofit partners personally in my nearly 2 years now at Community Boost, and I'm really excited to be able to share some of my experience with all of you here today. So first, we're going to start off with a poll. I would love to get a gauge of who here has or is currently running LinkedIn ads, how those have gone in the past. So I'll give us a little bit to get that poll going, but go ahead and select your answer in that poll. I'll be able to see those responses as we continue here. Awesome. So it looks like the majority of us aren't using LinkedIn and some of us are ready to begin. Awesome. So this is going to be a great place to start. So now that we have a bit better of an idea of our LinkedIn background, baseline, we can really dive into today's session. So today we will be covering an overview of LinkedIn ads, how they can work for nonprofits, what you really need to get started, and then jump into some of the amazing capabilities that LinkedIn has for audience targeting, creative options, and how to determine the success of your campaigns. So we will be moving through a lot of information here pretty quickly. If you do have any questions that come up throughout the session, feel free to throw them in the chat, and hopefully we'll be able to answer any of those during our Q&A session at the end. If you like a question and would really like to hear it answered, feel free to use that upvote feature under the Q&A embedded in the awesome welcome chat, and that'll help us sort through as we make our way through the session. So first and foremost, why should your organization be using LinkedIn ads as a part of your paid social efforts? So we all know that with so many platforms now offering ads, it can be difficult to justify adding another. But there are several unique aspects of LinkedIn that can take your overall digital presence to the next level. So in 2022, over 810 million professionals used LinkedIn. So I'll reiterate the emphasis of professionals again, as it really drastically changes the quality and the demographic of who we're reaching on this platform. So aside from the overall reach, marketers rated LinkedIn as the most brand safe digital platform because much of the content is professionally focused and aimed toward those that actively participate in professional circles. And all these stats are great, but what does this actually mean for the demographic of LinkedIn? So with a high average salary, the abundance of thought leaders and decision makers, and a huge reach beyond the United States, LinkedIn really allows us to tap into some of those who may be able to influence their companies and circles to not only join our cause themselves, but to encourage other leaders to do the same. I know that I myself use LinkedIn organically as a source for professional information, to connect with those in my field, and really extend my professional circle. So as we go through this session today, really think of your own use of LinkedIn, as well as those you encounter on the platform. I know that I find users to be more engaged, more dedicated, and connected to the causes and ideas they're passionate about. And this makes it a really great place to grow your organization's online presence. So as an ad platform, LinkedIn has the lowest cost per 1,000 impressions of any of the major platforms. And you can see this in our graph on the slide. LinkedIn also has many unique ad formats, including dynamic creative, direct messaging ads, and a lot more, but we'll touch on that a little bit later in the session. So although LinkedIn is traditionally a platform dominated by the for-profit space, the tide is really turning with nonprofit and a lot of cause-based organizations being able to take advantage of LinkedIn ads. So LinkedIn is a great option for recruitment of upcoming talent and volunteers, great for corporate match solicitation, overall brand awareness, direct messaging content, fundraising, and much more. I know we are moving pretty quickly this morning, and there's a lot to know about LinkedIn ads that probably can't be covered in a 30-minute session. So if you are interested in learning more about leveraging this platform for your organization, you can scan this QR code for a free gift of a game planning session with our awesome team of experts to learn more about how you can drive growth with LinkedIn advertising for your nonprofit. So this QR code will be back up at the end of the session. So if you are interested, get your camera ready and you can scan it at the end if you missed this slide. Awesome. So now that we have a general overview of LinkedIn ads and just some of their capabilities and uses for nonprofits, let's take a look at what you actually need to get started. So first, your LinkedIn ad account is linked to your existing page. So if you do not yet have a LinkedIn page for your organization, one will need to be created before starting this first step. So first, you'll need to create a LinkedIn Ads Manager. You'll need to install the LinkedIn Insight tag onto your organization's website. And this is similar to the Facebook pixel. And it'll allow you to track activity and conversions on your site and attribute them back to your campaigns. So once the technical setup is complete, you'll need to determine your overall goals, choose your ad format, and launch your first campaigns. And this sounds really easy, right? We know that launching successful campaigns is not this easy. If it were, then every organization would be utilizing this channel. But there are a few tips and best practices that can help your campaigns be successful as you start or continue your journey. So first, we can take a look at audience targeting. So as marketers, we know that the most amazing ad creative in the world won't make a difference if it's placed in front of the wrong audience. For example, if we're an organization promoting the sales of cheese, we wouldn't be too successful if we're only targeting vegans. So audience targeting is really key to the overall performance of your campaigns. And LinkedIn really has unparalleled audience targeting. And it can help not only identify who's resonating with your ads on this platform, but it can provide very valuable insights for the rest of your active platforms on paid social. So on average, LinkedIn users have 2 times the buying power of the average web audience. And that can be a very powerful tool to tap into. So buying power aside, many targeting options that are no longer available on other platforms are in full swing on LinkedIn. So we have the ability to not only retarget those who have visited the site and the ability to upload lists, we can also target individuals based on job title, seniority, job field, even company. We can also narrow this through interest in social issues, and the opportunities really are endless when it comes to targeting on LinkedIn. So if you are just getting started on LinkedIn, it can be a bit daunting to determine the perfect audience, right? There are options to use a targeting template that can help cast a wide net for your ads and really determine who you're resonating with. So these templates aren't recommended for long-term use just because they're not as customized as we would like. But through ongoing optimizations, they can be a really great place to start. Overall, our best practices for ad targeting on LinkedIn is to cast a wide net and narrow and optimize from there. So in general, a pool of about 50,000 members in an audience is a really great starting point because it's not too narrow to where you're missing out on possibly engaged users, but it's not too wide to where you're diluting your budget and reaching users who are outside of your potential pool. So once you have this 50,000 set, catering your ads to these individuals will really help you define success. So it's no secret that users on any social platform want to see ads that speak to them. So if we are able to utilize the reporting tools, identify and narrow your audience, and speak directly to them, you won't be starting from scratch each time, but we'll cover that a bit later. So once you determine what audience to target and determine the goal of your campaign, our next step is to choose an ad format, create our ads, and some of these best practices will help your next campaign be a success. Great. So one thing about LinkedIn is that there are several different types of ad formats available. So the options really are endless when it comes to ad format. But one major thing to note here is that only one ad format can be housed in each campaign. For example, if you are running a campaign with image ads, you cannot also run video. If you do want to test multiple ad formats, which we do recommend, the best way is to A/B test your individual campaigns to see which is working best. So although there are many options for ad formats, they're broken down into four main categories, which is sponsored content, sponsored messaging, dynamic ads, and lead generation. So we can take a look at the first and arguably most well-known of the ad format categories, which is sponsored content. So these sponsored content ads, like all ad formats on LinkedIn, are native, meaning they blend into users' feeds and they feature your content within their feed to look similar to an organic post. So sponsored content includes single image ads, video ads, carousel, and event ads. So here we have two examples of what sponsored content can look like with a single image as well as a video. So similar to other platforms, the anatomy of a sponsored ad includes a main piece of creative, primary text that houses most of our messaging, a bold headline that drives home our call to action, as well as a CTA button. So this format is generally standard for paid social. If you did catch the Facebook creative session, this may look a little familiar, so we won't spend too much time here. But one thing to note is that these can be used especially well if your organization has eye-catching visual content. So next up, we have sponsored messaging ads. So these are broken up into two types of ad format. Both are similar in outcome, but different in how they are initiated and navigated. So the first format here in the screenshot on the left-hand side is a conversation ad. So these can be used in a variety of campaign objectives, including lead generation, brand awareness, website visits, and a few more. With a conversation ad, you can include multiple calls to action throughout a custom conversation path. And so this gives users multiple choice responses that can lead to different destinations depending on your campaign goals. So this is different from a messenger ad, which can only contain one call to action. So messenger ads can be useful when you're wanting a very specific outcome, while conversation ads are a bit more customizable. So although there are differences between these formats, both of them are displayed directly into your audience's LinkedIn messaging only when they're active on LinkedIn. And to keep the frequency down, they will only show the same message once every 45 days. So these ads can be a really great tool to connect directly with your audience in a more personal way than an ad just coming across their feed. So now we can take a look at dynamic ads. So these include text, follower, and spotlight ads. So what makes dynamic ads unique is that not only will users' information like name and profile picture be swapped in automatically, the ad view will change in the case of a follower campaign, depending on if a user already follows your page. So as you can see in these top two screenshots here, the left-hand side shows the view of a user who already follows the page, and the right shows a non-follower view. So although they're similar, that CTA button does change, allowing for more customization. And in addition to follower ads, text ads, like we can see in this bottom screenshot here, they show up on the right-hand column of the LinkedIn feed, and they offer a very short form way to gain your audience's attention. And the great part about these is that they don't use an image or a video. So these options can be really great for organizations that may not have strong visual content available, and they serve as a great starting point for growing your LinkedIn following. So the last category we're going to cover today is lead generation. So we touched on this just a bit in the sponsored messaging section, but lead generation ads running on their own in a user's feed use the best of single image ads alongside a custom lead form. And what's great about this is that the LinkedIn lead forms are pre-filled with users' information. So there are fewer steps to submitting the form. Lead generation ads really explain themselves, but to grow your newsletter list, gain petition signatures, and a lot more, lead generation ads are really second to none. So now that we know all of these ad formats, how the heck do we go about actually creating the ad itself? And what makes a good ad on LinkedIn? So regardless of ad format or campaign objective, our number one rule of thumb is to be concise. Many users coming across these ads may not be familiar with your organization, so keeping messaging short and sweet will entice them to not only read the entire ad, but be motivated to learn more. Next, featuring a clear CTA, not only through the use of a call to action button, but an in-text call to action will really tell our users what we want them to do. And that can be a make or break for your campaign success. Finally, the golden rule of not just LinkedIn advertising, but of all paid social is to always be testing. So, like we covered before in the audience creation section, keeping an eye on your ad performance and making small adjustments during optimizations will bring you to the most effective ads and messaging over time. LinkedIn does also have the option for automatic testing that can come in handy if you're not conducting manual optimizations. Up to 100 creative options can be uploaded into each campaign, and LinkedIn will swap ad components to A B test automatically. We do suggest 2 or 3 variations running per campaign because 100 is just too many to keep track of. But 2 or 3 different variations, whether you are manually A B testing or using this LinkedIn tool, is a great place to start. So now that you've chosen your audience, created and tested your ads, how do you know if your campaigns are successful? First, we need to determine our baseline. So we cannot improve on what we are not measuring. So comparing your historical data month over month is a great way to gauge the success of your campaigns. When it comes to reporting and determining success, the LinkedIn Insight tag is going to come in handy here, so we can really accurately track what is attributing back to the ads themselves. So keeping an eye on your CQS or campaign quality scores in LinkedIn Ads Manager and hitting consistent optimizations to improve your score will help your campaigns run smoothly. So just to recap here, LinkedIn is growing in its ad capabilities very quickly, and there's a huge opportunity for nonprofits and cause-based organizations to really dive in and find success on this platform. With a huge number of creative options and campaign objectives, your organization can scale quickly to help reach your goals. So we find that LinkedIn ads are great for recruiting, corporate matches, reaching worldwide audiences if your mission does span outside of the US. And a huge percentage of users are global and really much, much more. I know we covered a lot today in a short period of time. If you are ready to game plan how you can really drive your growth with LinkedIn advertising for your nonprofit, you can book a free LinkedIn game planning session with our awesome team of experts helping nonprofits to leverage LinkedIn ads this year. So if you did miss this QR code the first time, now is your chance to scan it. I do want to thank everyone so much for joining us today. I hope this session was helpful in beginning or continuing your LinkedIn ads journey. I do believe we have some time for Q&A, so if you do have any questions, feel free to throw those in the chat. Awesome. I believe this is for this session. I do see a question from Janae of what is a good ad budget per month to start with. To me, it depends on what your starting point is, right? So like if you are...
Oh, she's off stage. Whoops. Chloe. There she is.
We're back. Awesome. Great. So we were talking about ad budget. So if you just started your LinkedIn page, you may want to invest a bit more in the beginning, but I would say anywhere from 500 to 1,000 is a great place to start if you're really wanting to scale quickly. If you are a smaller organization, that may not be able to happen. Even starting small can work out great. There are a few LinkedIn campaigns, I believe. The website traffic is a great place to start because it does not have a budget limit on it.
Okay, awesome. Let's see. Rachel wants to know, can you talk more about strategies for ads directed toward corporate sponsorship?
Yeah. So what is really awesome about LinkedIn, and part of the reason that I really like it, is that we are able to go in and look up audiences based on seniority level. And so you can go in, and if you're wanting to directly target CEOs, you can do that in your specific field. And so what I would do from there is either do a direct messenger campaign. That way you are showing up directly in their inbox to attempt to solicit any sort of a sponsorship, or lead generation. If you don't want to go in with such a hard ask, you can definitely gauge out interest that way. But what's so amazing about LinkedIn is that you do have the capability to go in and search by field, seniority level. If we are wanting to go after HR, that could be handling a lot of corporate sponsorships. It is a great way to test it.
Definitely, yes. And we have another question which says, which are LinkedIn ads? Which Which are LinkedIn ads used for most often? Are they targeting users as potential individual donors or as potential corporate partners?
That's a great question. I mean, there's no way for us to go in and tell like this number is for individuals and this number is for corporate. But I do know
Right.
that LinkedIn is the largest B2B marketing platform in the world. And so I would say it may tend to lean more toward corporate partners, especially because that is generally the focus of the platform, is for people to go in and really enhance their connections.
Mhm.
But individual donors could happen as well.
Definitely. And, I know this morning Cameron talked about how you have to touch somebody 7 times before, they're compelled to make a donation. And so maybe this is one of those times that they're hearing about you and it could turn into a donation.
Mhm.
Okay. Another question
And this
says,
question from Jamil. Yes,
yeah,
that's the one I was about to
any
pull as
talk
well.
of LinkedIn creating, well, they keep moving around.
Yes.
Any talk of
But
LinkedIn
the answer,
creating
yeah.
a grants program for Google or Microsoft?
Short answer, yes. The long answer is that they're doing it in cycles. So my understanding of what's happening now is that the program is still kind of in its infancy. They're getting started with it. But what they're doing is that they're taking applications in 3-month cycles. There is no word on when they're opening up for the next round yet. But I believe if you just Google LinkedIn ad grant or LinkedIn nonprofit ad grant, that information should come up. I'm sure we can pull that link as a resource. So they haven't announced the next opening date, but there is potential for LinkedIn Ad Grant. I know right now they're mainly focusing on organizations that are doing any sort of social issues. I believe climate change. And so there are very specific niches that would allow you to qualify, but I'm sure we can pull that link. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So, as an organization, someone says, as an organization, we aren't as active on LinkedIn, but we do have an account. Will this have an impact on our reach or engagement?
Again, short answer, yes and no. So for example, if we are, say we're running like a follower campaign, right? So it wouldn't necessarily have an impact on how many people we can reach through our ads, but it will have an impact on how many users we can retain. So if we are, say, wanting to grow the following, if we are wanting to increase overall brand awareness, we don't want to be promoting an empty page, right? And so if we are putting ad spend, if we are building these campaigns, we do want to make sure that there is strong organic content, not only for potential donors, but also the highest engaged users on LinkedIn for professional pages are your employees. And so doing some employee advocacy on LinkedIn, as well as just keeping the page active, is going to be important. So it may not have an actual impact on the reach of your ads, but it will have a big effect on retention.
Yeah, and there's a lot of ways you can build your page up. I think at Summit, we had Angela Pitter. She's one of the LinkedIn experts in our space. She has a lot of really good resources on how you can get your page more active, what your employees can do to help you get your page more active. It'll just take, a little bit of legwork to get you up to speed, but it's definitely doable and it can be a great resource. Let's see. How expensive are LinkedIn ads compared to Facebook ads? Do you have an example of a decent monthly budget?
Yeah, well, overall, LinkedIn does have a lower cost per 1,000 impressions, but it is just going to depend on your overall goals. So what I've noticed, like specifically in lead generation campaigns, is that Facebook and Instagram and Meta ads do have a lower cost per lead, but the leads may not be as high quality. And so it really depends on your overall goals. Because we are on LinkedIn advertising directly to professionals, the cost per lead may be a bit higher. On Facebook, it's around $2-3, and on LinkedIn, it's more around 6 or 7. Obviously, depending on the campaign, but it just depends on the quality of those leads for you. So the cost per impression is lower, but cost per result can be a bit higher, just depending on your campaign goal. And we covered this a bit earlier, but anywhere 500 to 1,000 is a solid budget to start with. I know not everyone has that, especially when getting started on a new platform, but just getting going is an awesome place to start.
Awesome. And so, does LinkedIn have offline conversion capabilities similar to Facebook's?
Yes and no. The answer is yes and no. So I know there is an ability to track offline conversions. I don't believe it's fully fleshed out. It's not comparable with Facebook, I would say. So overall, the insight tag is very important when it comes to tracking the overall success of your ads, as well as really just cross checking that with Google Analytics if it's set through Google Tag Manager.
Awesome. So, given that LinkedIn user audience is global, is one of the audience building tools the ability to geofence?
Yes, definitely. So in your targeting options, there is the option to specify by location, very similar to Facebook and Instagram ads if you have run those in the past. There is, yeah, as we mentioned, I believe it was 77% of the LinkedIn reach is outside of the US. So it is very, very helpful for organizations that have a worldwide reach. But if that's not you, then you can definitely set it up to be either US based only or even more local area.
Awesome. That's super good to know. And it looks like Jill asked, we were wondering if we should somehow advertise on LinkedIn specifically to employees of companies who use Benevity for matching gifts. Is this a thing?
Potentially, which I know is not the most helpful answer of all time. So one thing, LinkedIn does have the ability to go in and target based on individual company, but not all companies are listed. So it will really depend, I believe, on the size of the company's LinkedIn presence. I could be wrong on that one, but we'll check back. So there is the ability to go in and target based on company and those who have engaged with their LinkedIn page, but not all companies in the world are listed, definitely. So that's something that we would have to go in and check for that one specifically in Ads Manager.
For sure. It looks like there's a little bit in the chat here. Let's see. Can you talk about how to use conversion tracking effectively? We might have.
Yeah, I mean, once the insight tag is set up on your site, it should be automatic attribution back to your LinkedIn Ads Manager. And so as long as that is firing correctly, then it should attribute back.
Awesome. And Fiona asked, what is the threshold of followers that your LinkedIn page should have before running an ad campaign?
That's a tough one. So I don't personally think that there is a threshold for your LinkedIn page. I mean, many pages just starting out may utilize ads to let their already existing audience know that, hey, we have a page now. And so you do have the ability to run ads to announce that you are now on the platform. So I don't think there's a specific threshold that you need to have on LinkedIn to begin advertising. What I do think is a very important starting point is having content available on your page before you start running ads. And so we do want to make sure that there is content available. So when those users do hit your page, they want to stay engaged with you. So I wouldn't say a hard follower number. I think it's more about the level of content available.
Yeah, definitely agree there. I think having a lot of content on your page can just help you seem more credible and, more up to date, and that could help you gain some followers.
Definitely.
Okay. We have a little bit of time if anyone has any last minute questions, but hopefully you all learned a lot about LinkedIn ads. I know I definitely did. So thank you so much, Chloe, for your time. It was a really, really awesome presentation. And your presentation earlier was great as well. And I know you'll be popping on this next one too. So you guys are seeing a whole lot of Chloe today, but thank you so much for all of your wonderful insights. They're also so helpful.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody.